Il Salone del Mobile is becoming more and more kind of like a space strategy for luxury brands who know that the new currency is culture. It's kind of like a way of expansion for luxury brands, for fashion luxury brands, without actually having to dilute their brand identity. But what is really Il Salone del Mobile? How does it happen? Who are the biggest players? And why it is becoming so relevant for fashion brands and for fashion people really to actually attend? These are the topics that I want to explore today. Bonus points for who wants to subscribe to my newsletter, which is brand new, like I'm gonna start it today. I created also a list with a couple of like cool things happening during Il Salone, and most importantly during Il Fuori Salone, which I'm gonna explain to you in a sec. So basically like some cool events, fashion events to join, as well as some hotspots in Milan, like cool restaurants, cool places to shop, and the cafe where Miuccia goes for aperitivo and stuff like that. I decided to start this newsletter because I wanted to have a space where to kind of like keep a collection of links, of spots, of things to shop, of interesting books to read and stuff like that. And I feel like everything is so chaotic. I often share this information in a very superficial way through my podcast as well as through my Instagram, but it's obviously just superficial. It's hard to always like share links, and besides names and a couple of words for that specific book I want to recommend, there's not so much space to talk about. So I feel like having like everything written in like a specific place, it's so much more helpful, and you can have it in your email. Like every time you need to go back to that information, you can just like access it through your emails, which I think is so much easier. I actually got the idea because I started to join some newsletters and I subscribed to a couple of very cool ones. And I thought, oh my God, this is actually extremely helpful. Feel free to grab your drink of choice in the meantime that I'm going to start with some basic information about Il Salone del Mobile. It was born, like it started in 1961, and it's basically like the Milan Furniture Fair. It's the design week, okay, let's call it like that, happening in Milan. Since it started, it became so much bigger, and year after year, it's really insane the impact that this event is having. The most interesting thing is that it attracts not only people who love furniture, but also people who love fashion and arts more in general. So that's why it's becoming such a huge kind of like hotspot and event where to attend. So many more events happening every like year after year. I can see that the events are getting bigger, better, and just not like just more. There are two very important things that you need to know about Il Salone del Mobile that I think it can be interesting. So that's the design week, which happens in a fair space in Italy. It's called Rho, and everything happens there, okay? But the whole city gets involved in this, and a little bit of everywhere, to be honest, around Milan, you will have events that are not specifically designed or like specifically involving this like fair trade event, but more like connected to the arts and the performance and the fashion of it. So this is what I was saying, that, like it just attracts so many more people, because also the events are like just getting so much more like different. And this other part of it that's not happening in the space of the fair, it's called Fuori Salone. So if you Google, if you want to look for like events happening, you just need to basically look at Fuori Salone instead of Salone del Mobile. And yeah, there's actually like a proper specific website just for Il Fuori Salone, which is this other part of it. I also noticed that a couple of years ago, like street style photographers started to attend and kind of like capture the outfits of people at Fuori Salone. Like it's kind of like becoming like, what are you gonna wear at the design week? It's the same thing that you're gonna wear at fashion week. Like it's not that crazy, but it's like kind of like becoming that relevant. And the main reason why this design week is also attracting also like a fashion crowd is simply because luxury houses decided to join the events, they decided to invest into actually into some sort of expansion through these events. So you'll have creative consultants, you'll have directors, you'll have stylists, you'll have editors, and more actually fashion people attending. It's basically kind of like the same people attending Fashion Week, but just like with less pressure, less stress. And this is why it's the perfect place to actually network. There is this false myth that Fashion Week is the perfect place to network, but actually people don't really take the time or have the time to stop, talk, interact, and like have a meaningful conversation of some sort. Network is not only to like get introduced to someone or like introduce yourself to someone that you admire, that you want to talk to, because this is not enough. You also have to be able to actually hold a conversation and just like, get to know this person that you want to network with. And it's not enough just to like say, hi, my name is. And during Fashion Week, it's so much easy to, you have access to a lot of people you want to network with, but it's very, very hard to get the attention of these people. Fair enough, because everyone is just like pulled in different directions. There are so many things happening, and often like all at once during Fashion Week. There's so much chaos that I'm really hungry for a space where I can actually just sit down in silence. And I learned to do this more and more. The more Fashion Weeks I'm attending, the more seasons I'm going, I learned to balance out a little bit this feeling of wanting to join and network, but also the need to actually stop. And because I'm also prioritizing that, I'm just taking so much less time to actually be at events and kind of like hang out. So I go where I need to go. And I think so many people do this, to be honest. And I feel like Design Week is the time where the same fashion people go out to kind of like enjoy without necessarily having the pressure to be everywhere, the pressure to talk to everyone. So there's just like this chill vibe, this more like relaxed vibe overall, a little bit of everywhere. This can be the chance to actually network without really networking, like hanging out just to hang out and be in those spaces where fashion and creative people go. The most important thing to emphasize here is that Fashion Week is way less democratic than Design Week. At Design Week, you don't need to be accredited, you don't need to be invited, you don't necessarily need to actually plan specifically everything as much as you do at Fashion Week. So keyword here, access. You are able to get access to kind of like the same crowd, in the same fashion crowd, as well as very much interesting takes on design, architecture, and furniture, which in my opinion is something that is very much intertwined with fashion. And I feel like the trends kind of like, or like the industries kind of like get inspired one from the other. They both deal with shape, form, material, silhouette, and narrative. Fashion is so much faster, design is so much slower, so much grounded, and this is kind of like the whole vibe of salone and fuori salone. This like very grounding and very chill vibe, I would say, a very positive energy. In the end, you get access to beautiful furniture, beautiful design, very interesting crowd, and very interesting energy, as well as amazing places to actually like take content. I love to join these things where like I can also take some outfit photos, I can do my videos around, and it's basically everything becomes kind of like a photo set, a photo studio. If you are into content creation, Prada has always the best installations. You'll have this year also an installation from Louis Vuitton. You will have an installation from Etro as well as Ferragamo. Loewe always participates, and also this time they will participate with their teapots. I'm gonna put everything in my newsletter, like links, addresses, and kind of like a little bit of overview of the cool events, the ones that are mostly connected to fashion, I would say. But obviously you will find the more generic information a little bit of everywhere, to be honest. I was saying 2 episodes ago that luxury brands really seek this multi-sensorial experience, let's say marketing. They really want to be able to be attractive in kind of like a multi-sensorial way. And Il Salone, like the design week in Milan, really gives a beautiful stage for these brands to actually create that experience for a customer, and more importantly, a potential customer. If you guys are able to go, if you are planning to go this week, it's gonna start tomorrow until the 13th of April. The best time to go is during the weekend, but also it's gonna be the most crowded time. Many people who are not able to join during the week because they're working, they're gonna go during the weekend. So that's why it's gonna be even more and more tourists coming from a little bit of everywhere around the world, to be honest. They will also probably just join more over in the weekend. And if you're able to join, let me know. I'm very much curious to know what's gonna be going on this year. I hope you guys enjoyed this very short episode. I'm working so much behind the scenes for the pod at the moment. There are a couple of things that will happen this month that I know you will really, really enjoy. And I'm doing everything in my power to make this epic. And so there's a lot going on, but at the same time, I'm also very, very happy that I started this newsletter a little bit for myself as well, because I kind of get to create an archive of information, as I was saying before. Sometimes I'm also all over the place. I don't find my links. I don't find the information that I was talking about again. So I really wanted to create this written archive that's a little bit more specific and more Rex based, if that makes sense. I never really had a proper blog in the past, like every other blogger, the 2010s blogs where you would write blog posts. So it kind of feels a little bit like that, or I imagined that it was like that. And it's very fun to have also that way of self-expression, as well as content creation. In a way, it's kind of like content creation as well. And talk to you very, very soon.